Mantras of our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother says, "It is the Lord who sets all in motion from the depths of the being. It is His will that directs, His force that acts. With always our love and blessings," says our Divine Mother. Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, Book 1, The Book of Beginnings, Canto 4, The Secret Knowledge, page 54. A greater personality sometimes possesses us, which yet we know is ours. Or we adore the master of our souls. Then the small bodily ego thins and falls. No more insisting on its separate self, losing the punctilio of its separate birth, it leaves us one with nature and with God. In moments when the inner lamps are lit and the life's cherished guests are left outside, our spirit sits alone and speaks to its gulfs. A wider consciousness opens then its doors, invading from spiritual silences. A ray of the timeless glory stoops a while to commune with our seized illumined clay and leaves its huge white stamp upon our lives. In the oblivious field of mortal mind, revealed to the closed prophet eyes of trance, or in some deep internal solitude, witnessed by a strange immaterial sense, the signals of eternity appear. The truth mind could not know unveils its face. We hear what mortal ears have never heard. We feel what earthly sense has never felt. We love what common hearts repel and dread. Our minds hush to a bright omniscient. A voice calls from the chambers of the soul. We meet the ecstasy of the Godhead's touch in golden privacies of immortal fire. These signs are native to a larger self that lives within us by ourselves unseen. Only sometimes a holier influence comes. A tide of mightier surging spears our lives, and a diviner presence moves the soul. Words of our Divine Mother, taken from the collective works of our Divine Mother, Volume 2, Topic, Certitude. Our Divine Mother says, we must march on with the quiet certitude that what has to be done will be done. Certitude means it is assured and is calm. It never argues. Certitude of victory. It is not noisy, but it is sure. Confidence is the next topic. Our Divine Mother says there's a great power in the simple confidence of a child. It is with the confidence of a child that our heart implores the divine. The best way of meeting difficulties is a quiet and calm confidence in the grace. Keep faith and confidence and remain cheerful. Our Divine Mother talks about difficulties and says, in any case, whatever happens, always consider events as a gift from the divine grace, which is leading you by swift paths towards the spiritual goal of your life. Self-giving is the next topic. Our Divine Mother says, self-giving is a true prayer. Self-giving, by this, the whole being gets progressively unified round the central psychic being. Give yourself up. It is the best way of finding yourself. Our Divine Mother says, give yourself all what you are, all what you do to the divine, and you will have the peace. Give yourself entirely to the divine, and you will see the end of all troubles. It is a sincere self-giving that saves one from all difficulties and dangers. Our Divine Mother says, never say, I have nothing to give to the divine. There is always something to give, for always you can give yourself in a better and more complete way. To the divine, you are worth no more than what you have given him. To give to the divine what one has in excess is not an offering. One should give at least something out of what one needs. If you remember, says our Divine Mother, if you remember what you have given to the divine, he will have no need of remembering it himself. And if you ever mention the gift or speak of it to anybody, it is not to the divine that you have given the offering, but to the demon of your vanity. Entire self-giving means fully open, clear, and pure. Do not confuse the psychic realization with the spiritual realization, because the psychic realization will leave you within time and space within the manifested universe, whereas the effect of spiritual realization will be to protect you outside all creation, outside time and space. There is no joy more perfect than to give oneself totally to that which is greater than oneself. God, Supreme Origin, Divine Presence, Absolute Truth. It doesn't matter what name we give Him or what aspect we most easily approach Him through. To forget oneself totally in an integral consecration is the surest path towards realization. Our Divine Mother says how beautiful, grand, simple, calm everything becomes when our thoughts turn to the divine and we give ourselves to the divine. We must know how to give our life, also our death, our happiness, also our suffering. Our Divine Mother says there are 3 typical modes of total self-giving to the divine. First, to prostrate oneself at his feet, giving up all pride in perfect humility. Second, to unfold one's being before him, open one's whole body from head to foot as one opens a book, exposing one's sinners so as to make all their moments visible in a complete sincerity that allows nothing to remain hidden. Third, to nestle in his arms, to merge in him in a loving and absolute trust. Our Divine Mother says these moments may be accompanied by three formulas or any one of them according to the case. Our Divine Mother says first is, let thy will be done and not mine. Second, as thou willest, as thou willest. And third, I am thine for eternity. Generally, when these moments are done in a true way, they are followed by a perfect identification, a dissolution of the ego, giving rise to a sublime felicity. Our Divine Mother says, three steps towards a supreme identification. Give all you have, this is the beginning. Give all you do, this is the way. Give all you are, this is the fulfillment. I have read and heard that one should give oneself to the Divine Sweet Mother. I do not understand how should one give oneself. For this our Divine Mother says, with your thoughts, give your thoughts. With your heart, give your feelings. With your body, give your word. Above all words, above all thoughts, in the luminous silence of an aspiring faith, give yourself totally, unreservedly, absolutely to the Supreme Lord of all existences, and He will do of you what He wants you to be. With always our love and blessings, says our Divine Mother. Next subtopic, service to the Divine. Our Divine Mother says, no joy can be greater than that of serving the Divine. There is no greater joy than to serve the Divine. We must always be solely and exclusively the servitors of the Divine. We should be in no other service but in God's alone. Above all preferences, we want to be at the service of the Divine. To be at the Divine service is the surest way of attaining realization. All service done sincerely to the Divine is sadhana. All increase in the urge to serve is a sure sign of progress. Our Divine Mother says, whatever you do in life must be done as a service to the Divine and to nobody else. Whatever you are, think or feel, you are responsible for it to the Divine and to nobody else. He is the sole master of your being and your life. If in all sincerity you surrender entirely to Him, He will take charge of you and your heart will be in peace. All rest belongs to the world of ignorance and is governed by ignorance, which means confusion and suffering. The whole life turned to the Divine, offered to the Divine at the service of the Divine to become little by little an expression of the Divine. Next subtopic, surrender. Subtopic in that, difficulties of surrender. Our Divine Mother says it is rare that somebody can surrender entirely to the Divine's will without having to face one or another of the difficulties. How many struggles, how many efforts to again give ourselves to surrender once the individuality is constituted. For if the struggle is not the actual one, that does not mean that it will not come one day in one form or another. For at least always once in our life, we are placed in some circumstance to test whether we are ready for an entire surrender to the Divine's will, whether we are, before all, human beings striving to attain and manifest the Godhead, ready to renounce everything in the world, what seems to us good as well as what seems bad, for that supreme conquest. In that ascent towards the heights, both virtues and duties, that is to say, our mental prejudices and preferences stand far more in other way than our exterior weaknesses and faults. An error can always be used as a springboard, whilst a virtue is more than a limit, a barrier that must be surmounted. Our Divine Mother says, I will add, quoting the passage of Synthesis of Yoga, all these are within us, waiting to wall in the spirit with forms, but we must always go beyond, always renounce the lesser for the greater, the finite for the infinite. We must be prepared to proceed from illumination to illumination, from experience to experience, from soul state to soul state, so as to reach the utmost transcendence of the divine and its ultimate universality. Our Divine Mother says the way in which most people surrender, let God manifest His will, but let it be the same as mine. One thing you must know and decide, says our Divine Mother, it is if you want the true divine as he is, or if you want a divine in keeping with your own conception of what he ought to be. And if you have decided to surrender sincerely and totally to the divine, and to be and to do what he wants you to do, or to be according to his own will, or if you want the divine to do what you want him to do and to act according to your own will. Our Divine Mother says, I have offered your prayer to the Supreme Lord. But if you want to live in Ananda, you must not try to impose your will on the Divine, but on the contrary, you must be ready to accept all that comes to you from Him with an equal peace, because He knows better than what is good for our progress. The time is come to rely only on the Divine's will and let it work freely through you. I repeat, says our Divine Mother, the time has come at last not to rely any more on one's own petty will, to hand over the whole affair to the Divine's will and let it do its work through you. Not only your mind and your feelings, but mainly through the body. And if you do it sincerely, all this body nonsense will disappear and you will be strong and fit for your work. Our Divine Mother says, when men will understand that the Divine knows better than they do what is best for them, many of their difficulties will disappear. If the Lord wills for you a hardship, do not protest. Take it as a blessing, and indeed it will become so. The Lord is not at all powerful automation that the human beings can move by the push button of their will. And yet, most of those who surrender to God expect that from Him. Our Divine Mother says, to surrender to the divine is to renounce your narrow limits and to let yourself be invaded by it and made a center for its play. If you are truly surrendered to the divine in the right manner and totally, then at every moment you will be what you ought to be, you will do what you ought to do, you will know what you ought to know. But for that, you should have transcended all the limitations of the ego. True surrender, says our Divine Mother, enlarges you. It increases your capacity. It gives you a greater measure in quality and quantity which you could not have had yourself. Delayed surrender, a surrender which does not forget anything. Detailed surrender, a surrender which does not forget anything, which means the surrender of all the details of life, even the smallest, the most insignificant in appearance. And this means to remember the divine in all circumstances. Whatever we think, feel, or do, we must do it for Him as a way of coming close to Him, to be more and more what He wants us to be, capable of manifesting His will in perfect sincerity and purity, to be the instruments of His love. If man surrenders totally to the divine, he identifies himself with the divine. Perfect surrender, the indispensable condition for identification. In the integrality and absoluteness of bhakti and surrender, we find the essential condition of perfect peace leading to uninterrupted bliss. Our Divine Mother says the path is long, but self-surrender makes it short. The way is difficult, but perfect trust makes it easy. Surrender to the divine is the best emotional protection.